Hi and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you about my new Fender Mexican Stratocaster. I just picked this up. I got a really good deal on it because it's one of the last of the Mexican standards now that they're moving to the, I think it's called Pro Series. You know, there's something about the Mexican Strats I just love. I've had a number of Strats, quite a few Mexicans, quite a few American Strats. And I've never really bonded with them so much, but I always keep coming back to the Mexican Strat for some reason. I think it must be the sound of the ceramic pickups in this model, which I really like. I just find them a little bit more clearer, bassier, a bit more, you know, I find a lot of the Strat sounds a bit thin. I don't really like that. So I'm really happy with this. It's a great instrument. It's really good quality. It feels great. And I'm going to do a few things to it just to make it even better, although I do love the way it looks already. So some of the things I've got in mind for doing on this is I'm going to replace the tuners with original Fender locking tuners. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to lock down the tram bridge, which I've already done, but I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I've ordered a new pick guard, which is kind of a blue marbly sort of thing, which I'm going to put on there, or grey marbly thing, which I'm going to put on there. Yeah, so I'm just going to, and I'm also actually, another thing I've ordered is a new plate here, which I'm going to put, just got a Fender logo and things on it, just to dress it up. So everything I'm doing is really cosmetic. You could perhaps say that the tuners are more of a, you know, an actual upgrade, which will perhaps make it stay in tune better. But these ones hold the tuning well and they're fine. I just like the locking tuners better. I just think with a few of these things, it'll just be a really excellent guitar. I'm going to just give the frets a bit of a going over just on the edge, although these are really good. They feel great and the neck feels great, but I'll just give them a bit of a file on the edge of them, just so that it really is smooth and feels like a really smooth and almost like the American standard necks. But everything I'm doing is just really to trick it up, make it look a little bit spunkier and individualize it. And I'm hoping that I'll just settle on this Strat now and just play it. And already I love it, you know. I mean, I've got other guitars behind me there which are 3 or 4 times the price of this. Yet this holds up with them. These are great deals. You know, these are a really great deal, the Mexican Strat. So, you know, I could quite easily just have this as my only guitar, if that was the way I was, and you could just about do anything with it. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's get on to it. Today, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace these tuners. I probably won't replace the strings or anything today because I've got the pick guard coming, so I'm going to have to take the strings and things off that later. So just today I'll show you how I'm going to do the tuners. So let's have a look. Okay, so hopefully you can see that okay. So the first thing we've got to do, of course, is remove the strings. Okay, so we're going to remove the strings. As I said, I'm going to reuse these, given that I've got a few more jobs I want to do. So rather than waste it, and these are brand new strings, mind you, as well, so that's not a big deal. But rather than use a new set of Elixir strings, which I really like, the Elixir coated polywebs, I'll save those for after I've changed the pick guard. Okay, so we've got the strings off. So the next thing I'm going to do is loosen the nuts on these, which shouldn't be too difficult. So I'm just using this is an ESP spanner, I think they call it, just to loosen these off. So replacing your tuners is probably one of the easiest things you can do, and not only is it easy, but it's a great upgrade. Just remembering though, any upgrade you do to your guitar is money not well spent. Because once you've done something to it, you're not going to get your money back, believe me. I've been through that before. So you're doing it purely for your own pleasure, and don't do it thinking that you're going to add value to your guitar, because you're just not. People just don't pay for it. So you can see this is the standard Fender type of tuner. You can see how it's got the two little posts there. So these are genuine Fender locking tuners, which I purchased. These will go straight in. But if you were buying non-Fender ones, you just need to be aware of those little posts. I think most ones like the GravTech ratio tuners and the Hipshot tuners, they come with their own little kind of locking mechanisms. So, but I find with the Fender guitars, I usually just replace them with the originals. The thing about locking tuners is that they make string changing 1,000 times easier. Plus they really do improve tuning stability, especially if you're using any sort of whammy bar or you know, any kind of floating trem system. I'll keep these tuners because if I ever do sell this guitar, which I say now that I won't, but going on past history, never say never, I'll put these back on and I'll keep the locking tuners, because as I say, you won't get your money back on those. Okay, so there we go, we've removed the tuners. But what I'm going to do now, before I go ahead and put these ones on, is whilst I've got the strings off, I'm just going to give these frets just a tiny little bit of a going over at the edge. It doesn't need much, but I'm going to use this little file which I got from StewMac, which has kind of got a smooth side to it and a rougher side to it, and I'm just going to gently go over, just gently over the edges like that, and it'll just take off that tiniest little bit of tang at the end. If you had fret ends that were really jumping out at you, you'd need to use a proper fret file. But this will just make it feel that little bit better. Makes an enormous difference, you know, to the feel of the guitar. Just makes it feel like a much more expensive instrument. So that's just made a huge difference already. So that's something easy to do. It's a really nice file. You can just kind of give them a polish, the smoother side. So what I might do now is, since again I've got the fretboard there, I might just get a bit of a, going over with a bit of a cleaning cloth which I use, just called Gorgamite, which I've done a video on, so if you want to go and see that, have a look, and that'll just clean up the fretboard a bit. It's brand new, so it doesn't really need much of a go of it. I can see it's got a little bit of gunk on it from the factory, and that's, so I'll just give that a bit of a... So you can see this is a brand new guitar, and you can see that there's a bit of muck coming off it. So it's just maybe dust and crap from the factory. So you can see this is really, look at that. God knows what it is. Once you've done that, what you need to do is get a cloth and just give it a wipe. So we'll do that. Okay, so what started out as just a simple job to redo the tuners has turned into a bit of a all up clean, and that's okay. Alright, so now that we've taken off the tuners, I've given the fretboard a bit of a going over, it's feeling good. Time to put these new ones on. So we've got a staggered set of tuners here, so we need to make sure you're putting the right ones at the right spot. So this looks like a small one. So again, you can see that this has got the same pins that the other one had. So it's going to slip right on, slipping that over and tightening it up. I mean, that is it. How simple is that? And I tell you, I mean, if I can do this, anyone can do this. I'm no handyman. And you just tighten it up. Doesn't need to be super tight, but you want it to, you know, be gripping. I got this spanner on the recommendation of some YouTube people. That works pretty well. So there you go. So that's it. That's on. So you just need to do that for all of them. As I say, making sure that if they're staggered ones, that the right ones are in the right spot. You can see there the difference height. So these ones are going to go at the other end. Okay, so there you go. I've done it. It took me all of 5 seconds. It was very quick. As I say, the only thing you need to be careful of is that you, as you can see there, hopefully you can see how they're staggered height. So you need to make sure you got the 3 shorter ones at the end and the 3 long ones here. I noticed that they come with different style, you can see different style heads on them, so that's the way of knowing which ones go where. So I think that looks pretty good. Got the Fender logos on the back there. So now all I've got to do is string her up and she's raring to go. So as I mentioned, the good thing about these locking tuners is that they're really easy to use. So I'm just going to snip off that old end there, because what you do with these is you loosen the wheel on the back, you pop the string through the hole like so, pull that through with my pliers, and you just tighten up the wheel. What I like to do is give it a little bit of slack, just so that it has a bit of a turn on it, but you don't really need to. Once these are locked in, they're locked in, then you just turn the key around. Oops. And make sure the end there's, and she's done. Just tighten that wheel again, make sure it's tight. That's it, that's the locking tuner. That's how easy it is to change strings with these. So again, just loosen off the wheel, through it goes, then tighten the wheel. You can feel it grab the string, and you are done. And just tighten it up. As I say, you don't need to give it any winding around the tuner. I see lots of people who do that, but in a way, by doing that, you're defeating the purpose of the locking tuner. The purpose of the locking tuner is so that there's no give, which you get in a wind. If you're putting a wind around the tuner, you know, you've got that little bit of extra string which can slip and which might bind up on itself. Whereas this, if you just go through and lock it, maybe a turn, half a turn, you know, there's no give in that at all. So you've got the perfect environment for strong tuning stability. Okay, so after a little bit of toing and froing with these older strings, which have these kind of kinks in them from where they used to be, which makes it more difficult, I've got them all done now. So just tightening up the wheels on the back to make sure it's all gripped, and there you go, all nicely done. Just needs to be tuned up. So the locking tuners really make restringing a breeze. Once the if you've got new strings and you've got nice straight string ends, it's really easy. You just pull them through and bang, you're done. I now have the aesthetics of the locking tuners. I have the added benefit of the staggered pole pieces. Again, all things that improve tuning stability. I think it looks good. Fretboard's clean, the edges of the frets have been given a bit of a file, so we're all good to go. As I mentioned earlier, I have the tremolo bridge. I've got this locked down, so the way I did that is I just tightened the springs in the back, took this off, tightened the strings up a bit, and I've put a wooden block between the edge of the guitar and the spring, the whammy block there. I only do that because I just don't use the whammy bar, and by doing that, again, I think it just improves the stability of the guitar and tuning. Okay, so there's the start of my improving this guitar. The next thing I'm going to do is replace the pickguard, I think. I've got one coming, which is a grey pearly sort of thing. Before I do it, I'll just rest it on top and see if I like it, because I do like the white and on white. I think that looks really cool. But we'll see how that goes. And the other thing I've got coming too is a new plate here, which I will put on again simply for aesthetics. Nothing, it's not going to do anything, it's not going to improve anything or anything, but it's got a nice Diamond Series logo and Fender logo on it, which will just make it look good. Alright, thanks for watching. Stand by for the next video where I'll do the pickguard upgrade. Again, that's a very simple thing to do. It's a bit fiddly, but nothing that any home handyman can do. Nothing I'm doing here requires any sort of specialist luthier type skills like soldering or anything like that, so these are just easy upgrades. If you've got the right tools and things, you're ready to go. Okay, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers.